Hello, everybody. How is everybody? Hello, replay people. You guys are the only ones seeing this part. I decided to come in. I am pretty much right on time. I tend to come in around 10 after 12. Let me just make sure that we are live. Ba-dum-bum-bum. And we are. Okay, can you hear me? Hello. Yep, you can hear me. Okay, so I'm going to have my phone here just so I can see comments because I tend to turn my screen down a little bit so it's not so bright in my face and gives me that like dead blue feeling. That's LCD screens. I am going to do something different today. I had an interesting day. I definitely had an interesting day. We all have our triggers. We all have the things that come into our awareness, into our lives, into our days that kind of trigger something in us, something deep, something old, something from the past. And that happened today. Big time. Big time. To the point where I basically got no sleep, and then I just couldn't get out of bed. I was just in bed until I think I finally got out of bed around 5:30, which is about, I think I just laid there futzing around for probably 3 hours. I just didn't do anything. I didn't eat, did nothing, because I was being triggered. So I had a conversation with my hubby. He's always good at these things. And he said, after talking for like a couple hours, he recommended that I pick up my Power of Now book and read chapter 2. And it made a lot of sense. I read it, and it started making a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read like the first part of the chapter. And it's chapter 2, Consciousness, the Way Out of Pain. And just to give you a background, as I go through, I'm continually transforming myself. I'm always doing self-work. There's never a day that goes by where I'm not focusing on something that I want to improve upon. Whether it be learning something new, which tends to be my default. I always love to learn. Or whether it's me doing, as I mentioned in the other videos, a life review. But like a day review or a behavior review or something like that I can use to say, okay, I'm going to work on this today. Well, I've been having one issue that kind of hit me from left field. I was not expecting it. I mean, I deal with chronic pain all the time. It's something I'm used to. Car accidents, illness. It's just part of me. And I'm okay with that. But what is happening now as I go through this work and this transformation on myself, I have run into a weird anomaly. When I get triggered, instead of being a trigger where, like when your head goes in and you're just constantly thinking and you get stuck on thought loops, what happens is it ends up being a physiological response. My brain is still in the linear, let's figure this out, life review kind of mode. But my body, my physical body, has been acting out. So my husband told me to read The Power of Now, which, is Eckhart Tolle. And he talks about the pain body. And, this morning I was like, I felt like I was going to have an anxiety attack. Now, I don't have anxiety attacks, and my brain wasn't thinking I was going to have an anxiety attack, but my heart. And I had this feeling like in my chest where I felt like something was going on, which is very strange. And it's like the second time that it's happened in the last couple weeks. So, and it just kind of came out of left field. So I'm going to read this and see, if it resonates with you. I think it's really important. I actually recommend this book to everybody. This book and the companion book, Practicing the Power of Now, is amazing. If you haven't read it, I mean, it's hard to believe that a bestseller like this has yet to reach a lot of people. But it's amazing. It's amazing. There's energetic stuff in the words. It's very cool. So I'm going to read chapter 2, or at the beginning of chapter 2. And, okay, so consciousness, the way out of pain. Create no more pain in the present. Nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. Isn't it a question of learning to live with them rather than trying to avoid them? The greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it is some form of negativity. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment, and this in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind always seeks to deny the now and escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Or you may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain, of suffering, and free the egoic mind. Why does the mind habitually deny or resist the now? Because it cannot function and remain in control without time, which is past and future. So it perceives the timeless now as threatening. Time and mind are in fact inseparable. Imagine the earth devoid of human life, inhabited only by plants and animals. Would it still have a past and a future? Could we still speak of time in any meaningful way? The question, what time is it? Or, what's the date today? If anybody were to ask it, would be quite meaningless. The oak tree or the eagle would be bemused by such a question. What time? They would ask. Well, of course, it's now. The time is now. What else is there? Yes, we need the mind as well as time to function in this world, but there comes a point where they take over our lives, and this is where dysfunction, pain, and sorrow set in. The mind, to ensure that it remains in control, seeks continuously to cover up the present moment with past and future, and so, as the vitality and infinite creative potential of being, which is inseparable from the now, becomes covered up by time, your true nature becomes obscured by the mind. An increasingly heavy burden of time has been accumulating in the human mind. All individuals are suffering under this burden, but they also keep adding to it every moment whenever they ignore or deny that precious moment or reduce it to a means of getting to some future moment, which only exists in the mind, never in actuality. The accumulation of time in the collective and individual human mind also holds a vast amount of residual pain from the past. If you no longer want to create pain for yourself and others, if you no longer want to add to the residue of past pain that still lives on in you, then don't create any more time. or at least no more than necessary to deal with the practical aspects of your life. How to stop creating time? Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life, whereas before you dwelt in time and paid brief visits to the now. Have your dwelling place in the now and pay brief visits to past and future when required to deal with the practical aspects of your life situation. Always say yes to the present moment. What could be more futile, more insane than to create inner resistance to something that already is? What could be more insane than to oppose life itself, which is now and always now? Surrender to what is. Say yes to life and see how life suddenly starts working for you rather than against you. The present moment is sometimes unacceptable, unpleasant, or awful. It is as it is. Observe how the mind labels it and how this labeling process, the continuous sitting in judgment, creates pain and unhappiness. By watching the mechanics of the mind, you step out of its resistance patterns and you can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a taste of the state of inner freedom and external conditions that state the state of true inner peace. Then see what happens and take action if necessary or possible. Accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. So I read that. I mean, I read the whole chapter, but that part really hit home. It really did. I mean, we really cause our own suffering. And we got lots of people. Hi, everybody. Thanks for visiting. I guess we have one person left. I don't know who that is. But it's really important to create that space necessary between you, the watcher, and whatever illusion of time you're focused on. Ultimately, it doesn't exist. And by sticking to the mindset of focusing on the future or on the past, you are doing yourself a great disservice. You are adding to the pain or the residual pain within you. And the more you get triggered, the more resistance you have, the more suffering you cause. So, one way to deal with that is to experience whatever you're feeling. Whatever you're feeling, experience it. If you're angry, experience it. If you're sad, experience it. Because your emotions are your guidance system. When something triggers an emotion, there's a disconnect there between yourself and, what is, which is the now. You're focused on the wrong things. I've mentioned in other videos to make stuff work for you. We can't avoid the pain of our past. It's happened. It's done. It's over with. It doesn't exist anymore. But we still have to focus on the residual pain, the layered pain that we collect through our lives. And if it doesn't get dealt with, it comes out in so many ways. It comes out in illness. It comes out in toxic relationships. It comes out in self resentment and resentment of others. We need to realize that. And I need to realize that. The pain that I have in my body when I get emotionally triggered has lately gotten so intense that I need to stop resisting that, and I need to start experiencing it and creating space. Creating that space between what I'm feeling in that moment. The fear that comes up when, like, when your heart starts to beat really fast and you feel like you're like vibrating on the inside of sadness or of panic, the more you resist that, the more it can get the better of you. And, like today, for me, just to go to sleep, I actually had to give myself Reiki. I had to, and I mean, you can do this too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full Reiki session. All you do is take your hand and put it on your heart and just rest. And imagine that you are sending love from your hand into your heart. That's how I was able to get to sleep. And that calmed my heart. And it calmed that feeling inside. I had to sit with that feeling. And that feeling ultimately is just fear. It's past residual junk and fear that we've collected over our lives. So you have to be with it. And the only way to combat fear in any form, whether it be pain in the body, whether it be anxiety, whether it be sadness, because all of that stuff is pain. The only way to combat that is by sending yourself love. So that is my message for today. It's a long one, I know. I don't like these musings to go over like 10, 12 minutes. But I just wanted to read that to you because I felt really moved when I read it, and somebody out there needs it. So if you ever feel that feeling and you need to sit, just hold your hand over your heart, take some deep breaths, and imagine you are sending love through your hand and into your heart. And you can visualize your heart calming down. You can visualize white light coming out of your hands and just flooding the inside of your body and creating that peace and that calm. And don't resist it. Don't resist it. Be in the now. Be in the now. So that's that. I'm going to leave it at that. Really long, 18 minutes, 19 minutes. I apologize. So sorry. But I'm very grateful if you stick with it and watch it. I really am. My heart goes out to you. So so that's it. So have a wonderful evening, and always remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and always walk in love and light. And I wish you good night. Bye-bye.